Welcome in, welcome in, welcome all. Yep, we've got a very special guest on the episode today. The Vegas Sphere is tuned in, tapped in, and ready to talk Panthers. As you can see, we're going to keep the Sphere up in the background because why not? How many times do we get to broadcast a live stream from Vegas with the Vegas Sphere right behind us? Man, welcome in, folks. It's been 2 months exactly to the day since I've done a live stream. I personally have been focused on a lot of videos, as you guys have seen. That's where the money is for me, at least right now, as a YouTube creator. And yes, the views and all that stuff's coming in, so it's been fun. We do have some announcements on the way. I mean, I know you folks have seen the Old North State Sports Show. That's where this thing is going eventually. I keep saying eventually because they keep postponing it, but we do have plans this spring to officially get everything changed over. So, anyways, folks, lots of news, lots of things that happened yesterday. I just recorded an episode. You guys will get it. I mean, it's coming out now. You can watch it after this. It's going to be pretty much the same content. I traveled from Wilmington yesterday. We're at a conference, not for Panthers, of course. Traveled from Wilmington, woke up, I don't know, like 3:50 in the morning, got to Wilmington to Charlotte, got out here at like 9:30 Pacific time. And it was a long freaking day, man. But on the flight, I had miles that I never use. I don't know how to use I don't fly that often. So, anyways, I had American Airline miles on there and tapped into Wi-Fi. So I was, of course, X was down, but I listened to WFNZ, the go-to source for me. So if you guys, Mac and Bone, are listening, and everybody, I listened throughout the day. Appreciate you guys keeping us in tune with everything that was happening across free agency. It was a freaking busy day. Speaking of busy day, first let me see what we got. Nody, what's good, Caleb? Welcome in, folks. So yeah, I would do plan it for those that may or may not be wondering to pick the live streams back up in the off season. It's not as important to me, at least not right now, but we'll get it rolling coming back in. Yesterday was a wild, wild day. And for me, I wasn't tuned in to everything as it was coming in. So I got pieces and bits and had to catch up. I guess we should start to, and I know people likely already know this, and I've already talked about it, but the return of Austin Corbett, Cade Mays, Tommy Trimble, O'Brien Ray, all positive news for the Carolina Panthers. They're bringing back a good bit of the core. Yesterday, though, to kick things off, Jaycee Horn's massive contract extension, 4 years, $100 million, $70 million guaranteed. This is not the episode where I break down every piece of the contract. Not going to do that today. It's still what 6:30 over here. So I'm not doing that, but I figured, you know what, let's get in here. Let's talk about everything that happened, get everyone up to speed, get your thoughts. So I'm a fan of it. I've always been a fan of Jaycee Horn. I also understand at least part of the fan base that may be skeptical that says, why are you giving him that much money? Think in a few years, the number's going to look pretty small in comparison to other contracts that come through, which we're already seeing. I think the health is a very valid question, concern, but I don't think we should hold it against him. And good for Jaycee Horn, man. So that was really the boom that kicked off the day. And then, if we're going to be honest, the second boom that was a dud that just didn't pan out, Milton Williams, man. And it felt, I mean, I was getting text from people, getting posts, all that stuff as it was flying in that we were going to land him. I was like, oh, this is great. I had my buddy who's a Packers fan text me, had my neighbor who's a Panthers fan, like excited. They're like, oh man, your defensive front's going to be amazing. I was excited too. And of course, this is just part of like if you're gonna post and report and share this stuff, and it wasn't just local folks, it was national folks, Adam Schefter, Diana Rossini, all these people pinning him here in Carolina, and then they backpedal, get clarity that no, there's still some things going on. And unfortunately for the Carolina Panthers, or maybe fortunately, considering the amount of money that was on the table, he does not land in Carolina. Doesn't land here. Panthers end up having to, I guess, make up for it later in the day. The theme of the day, if we were going to give it, and people have probably already said this, but it was defense and it was getting younger. Still curious what the plan is going to be for the Panthers. Not that I expect them to do anything with Wodum or Clowney, but what their thoughts are. We're going to talk about everyone here in just a second. Also, I think Mike Kay from the Charlotte Observer posted late yesterday about Shy Tuttle with a, I guess, reduction in salary for him to hang around. And the team likes him, so it sounds like he's probably not going anywhere, and he's going to be more of a rotational piece. So I think that was probably like the two biggest, I guess, the two biggest storylines, and then following that up, and some people wondered, well, you miss on Williams, and then you decide to go back in and get a safety. Tre'von Moehrig out of the Las Vegas, right where we are here, Raider country, 3 years, $51 million. I think the big difference when you look at him, one, really good safety. And folks, this is, again, too, not the episode where I break down each of these guys and their performance. I have barely had time to breathe. So that'll come. If you're interested in that, we're going to have probably a video for each guy just to get familiar. That's what I did. Well, last year I compiled it into one video. We can do one for each, hopefully. I'll be working on those over the next, I guess, day or two, because I'll also be traveling away, not for work, but for fun, for family next week. So I got to get caught up on content, get you guys stuff, and of course, make sure that the channel, YouTube channel, stays afloat. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel also. I know there's people on X that can follow. We're over 2,000 subscribers. Of course, all the podcast platforms, man. I mean, we're approaching 300 followers on podcast platforms. That may seem small to you. That's a really big number, man. When you look at Spotify and Apple, so I've got almost 160 people that like or follow and subscribe to it there, and Spotify the same. Last year on Spotify, we were top 15% among all video podcasts on there. Top 15% out of every video podcast. So I appreciate you guys. All these things will hopefully pan out, and you get to see the benefits of this show continuing to grow. Okay, so we talked through Tre'von, and this is where it kind of gets murky for me because the day went on and I just had to look as things came across the screen. Bobby Brown, the third defensive tackle, former Ram, signing ideal nose tackle. So you look at the 3-4 scheme, 6'4", 328 pounds. Getting that defensive front right is what the Panthers have to do. Now, I think there's still some questions, and I know they signed an outside linebacker from Minnesota. I still think they've got to get another pass rusher. You're not going to get Sweat. We know Sweat went elsewhere. And there's not a ton in the market. We saw a lot yesterday. I know there was some movement, but a lot of guys staying home, like kind of being content with where they are, not just yesterday, but over this past week with a lot of the re-signings that came in. So defensive tackle in the middle, 24 years old. Started 29 games in the past 2 seasons. Again, you get a young piece that you can plug in there and then maybe have Shy Tuttle in the rotation. That's my expectation. We will see how this thing plays out officially, but positive news, Pat Jones again. I guess we're just going to become the Minnesota Vikings pipeline for outside linebackers. He had 7 sacks last year, made only 1 start, so he is absolutely a plug-in outside linebacker, rotational guy. I'll be curious if he can push to be a starter. I'm not like putting my hopes in there and saying, hey, that this absolutely would work, but can he make a push to be a starter? Clowney is getting older. I think it's a possibility. And then you potentially have Clowney as the situational guy who gets some limited reps. Either way, I like it. No matter how they flip this thing back and forth between Clowney, and I'm using Clowney because he's older, so I'm just saying between the rotation of Pat Jones second and Clowney could be Wonham as well. I still think they need another pass rusher. And, the draft is coming up. One of the positions, at least right now, that has not been addressed is inside linebacker. I think the Panthers have to get an inside linebacker. I know we have Trevin Wallace, we have Josie Jewell. To me, that's not enough. I want better. I want the best. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers are still thinking about Jalen Walker, Jahad Campbell. Both of those guys, for me, is the inside linebacker position for the Carolina Panthers. I know Walker plays off ball, so you can do multiple things. So that is the route they go. I don't know. I think the other need, we still just have Damani Richardson. So you got 2 safeties on the team now. You're going to need 2 more at least. Probably a nickel back. Good old nickel back. Just jams all day. Not really. But the other, on the offensive side of the ball, wide receiver. I expected, you see Slayton's contract go up. He's not available. There's not a lot of options for the Panthers. And so I don't know if that means they lean on a wide receiver in the draft. I know Dan Morgan continues to talk about how he's content, happy, pleased with the wide receiver room. Maybe he sees something we don't. I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice if you had this breakout year with Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker and Adam Thielen. If that trio became something, but I'm not necessarily holding my breath right now. I still think the Panthers need to bring in a true one. I don't know. So we'll find out. Also interesting to see as we get through this, Miles Sanders still around. Guessing he's going to hang. So anyways, all right, we talked through Pat Jones II, Bobby Brown, Trayvon, Jaycee Horn, Mike Jackson. How about that? Mike Jackson coming back, talking about solidifying the defense, solidifying the secondary. Jackson signed a 2-year, $14.5 million contract. So, I mean, you look at the number of snaps played last year with our defense in general. Him and Xavier Woods were out there, a ridiculous amount of time, and Jaycee Horn. This is smart. It's a smart move. I know fans may have wanted a bigger splash, or maybe they wanted to go out in the draft. It's still possible. Still a possibility, but at least for now, it does seem like the Panthers, they made a smart decision in not leaving this unanswered going into really the start of camp. You go back and look at last year prior to Mike Jackson. Hey, guess what, folks? I got my quick pass toll scam. I just got a text. I got to go pay the toll fee, just like everyone else in America right now. How many people are getting those? But you think about where the Panthers were heading into training camp prior to trading Mike Barrett for Mike Jackson. They were not in a good position, man. So I like this from that standpoint. You at least have continuity in the secondary. I know there's got to be some improvement in communication. Hopefully that starts and helps when you have safeties in place that are a little bit better. So anyways, last one on the list, and I'm going to close it out because got to get the day rolling here. Tershawn Wharton, defensive tackle, coming over. Well, they have defensive tackle. He's going to be more of a defensive end in the 3-4 scheme. 3 years, $54 million, 26 years old, 6.5 sacks. Big outstanding season for the Kansas City Chiefs. So all around, defense. That was the theme of the day. I'm excited to see what happens in wave 2. Technically, maybe this is still wave 1, but what happens today? Do we get some additional news? I think the Panthers are going to remain busy, and I'll be back to break down everything related to this as we get going, kick things off. So anyways, folks, that is going to do it today. Hey, y'all, sorry I did not get into the comments. Hope you guys are doing good. That's going to do it for today's episode, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. As always, man back here says, hope you guys have a great day, the Vegas Sphere. I'll see y'all later. Appreciate y'all tuning in.